Hi, on behalf of Clean Code, this is a Deloitte population density interview question in Python. Let's get into it. Okay, so quickly running through our problem task is we see your task is to calculate the population density of these cities, rounded to the nearest integer, and identify cities with the minimum and maximum densities. The population density should be calculated as population divided by area, and the output should contain city, country, and density. We're given a very lovely data frame. Our data frame is city, country, population, and area. Excellent, everything we need. And if we quickly just come over here, run a little bit of code, take a look at our data frame, we can see, we have city, country, population. All of this looks built out. But if we look nicely, line here too, area is 0. And if we look nicely here as well, area is 0 at instance 9. So pretty straightforward question. I think most people should be able to attack this and approach it. But I did want to make a quick side note about how we can approach these problems working for a company like Deloitte. When you work at a company like Deloitte, the one of the bigger parts of your job is going to be explaining your technical approaches to non-technical people. So in the back of your mind, while you're solving this, if you're trying to do like a live interview experience, try to keep explaining this is what I'm doing and this is why I'm doing it in a way that somebody who doesn't code could understand. Okay, that being said, let's jump over to the notebook and solve this problem. Okay, now that we're here on our notebook, let's go ahead and go back through the problem. And this time we're just going to identify the key components. So our output has to be specific. The density calculation is a specific calculation given to us. We need to round to integer, and we need to find minimum and maximum densities. So anytime we start working on these problems and there's a bunch of steps, I call them trench coat problems. You're doing a bunch of little tiny steps and rolling it all together into one solution. Odds are very good that they are actually trying to figure out, can you use the helper functions in the libraries or like the built-in operations for whatever code system you're using to help you accomplish this task. So if we remember from our company study of Deloitte, Deloitte's a two-part company. You need to have technical skill, obviously. That's why they're interviewing your technical skills. But then Deloitte will also place a premium on your ability to explain what's going on. So very unlikely they need you to have a very deep knowledge. However, they need you to have a very broad knowledge and be deep enough to explain. So in this particular case, we can 100% use Python's built-in stuff. So we're going to use round. We also have min and max. And those are probably the only built-in functions we have because we have round taken care of, minimum and maximum. Density, this is given. This is always something I like to do just so I know what I'm doing. Just in case, if you ever get confused, you come back to a problem a little bit later while you're working. It's always kind of a good idea to know how you're combining different things, even though it's given to us in the problem statement. Not a bad idea just to get in that habit now. So we have a density calculation ready, and then our output needs to contain city, country, and density. So then when we go down here to the what we want section, we're just going to denote how we're going to approach this problem. Step A, we need to filter, and we can write this short. We need to filter our data. We need to calculate density. We then need to round. And then we need to find a min, and then a max, and then output everything all together. So very, very straightforward. I would say what could be helpful in a situation like this, I have seen it happen before at a firm like Deloitte where they say, okay, assume you don't have the round function. How would you do that programmatically? Assume you don't have a min or a max. How would you do that programmatically, assuming you didn't have the function? Never a bad idea to just jot that down pre-interview. How does a couple of things happen? I don't think they're trying to get you. I think they're just trying to make sure you understand how the library is working. And that usually is a good indicator that the client you'll be working for asks those types of questions. So if you can get ahead of that or say, oh, that's very interesting, off the top of my head, this would be my approach. Does that sound something like a client would accept, or do I need to go further? Nice, simple way to handle that. Okay, so we have our task order here, A through G, pretty straightforward. Let's jump back over to the code editor and we will code this up. All right, here we are back in our code editor, and let's go ahead. We know we're going to want to use NumPy and Pandas for these questions. Just anytime you work in Python, just import NumPy and Pandas. It's pretty much basic at this point, any sort of data science thing we're doing. Okay, so our step one is we got to filter out rows where things are 0, because we did see that area can be 0 in our data. So we'll go ahead and put that line in right there. Our next step would be calculating density. So we want to recalculate that based on how we have it done. And we'll go ahead and put it in slot 8. That's how I would recommend we write that in there. And then we need to do cities with the maximum. We did see more than once, a city listed more than once. So we do want to think of this as like a max density per city. So we can accomplish that this way. And let's go ahead and make this all nice. All right. And then if we're doing max, we're going to do min. Basically the same thing. We're just changing it a little thing around. Please note we have our round hanging out right there at the bottom. Now we have, by virtue of how we've attacked this problem, as you can see, we've created a new data frame, min and max. To find these things, we need to bring them back all together. So in order to do that, we're going to merge our min and max together into a single data frame. We're going to go ahead and call that combined density df. As you can see, we're naming things very nicely, so anybody that comes back through our code can read it and understand it, especially because if this is a hiring manager that is not affiliated with a team, this is going to be sent to somebody on that technical team for review. That comes from people that have worked at Deloitte that I have spoken to for this particular video lesson. So here we go. This is our final answer. Click run, make sure everything works. Everything's looking good. Click solve. Solution is accepted. This has been Clean Code. Listener, thank you for listening. If you're a little bit confused on the operations of the code, we're going to do a little office hours here at the end and explain everything, what's going on line by line. Stick around if you want to. Otherwise, see you next time. Okay, let's go back through this code line by line. If you already know how this works, great, wonderful. If not, let's just take a few moments and I'll walk you through step by step what's happening. So here at line 5, we are creating a variable called city population. As you can see, it's all over the place. And what we're actually doing is rewriting the original city's population data frame that was given to us. But we're doing this in a very specific way. So we see that open bracket, and then you see we're calling the city population again, but this time we are calling the specific area. So the way to read this is city population now equals city population where city population area. That's the sentence so far. And then you can see right here, this exclamation point equal sign means not equal to. So anything that is not equal to 0 is A-okay, and it gets passed through. Quick and dirty filtering method. We have the backend parent right here. You can see it closes off this bit. So we're rewriting the first city population via city population under this condition I have highlighted. Okay, that's line 5. All right, line 8, let's go through that one right now. So here we're creating, using our city populations data frame we already have, we're creating a column called density. This is how you do that in Python. And we're setting it equal to another column, population, which is this right here, divided by another column, area. This is column by column math. This is how you can create another column. There's a lot of different ways you can do this. We could change this around to any mathematical operation, but this is how you calculate a column in Python, and that is what we're doing here in line 8. All right, here we are in row 11. So here we're creating the max density df. This will be a sub df that we will eventually merge back together. And we're saying, hey, that's going to be equal to the city's population density which is set to be equal to the city's population density max. So what this is kind of saying in sentence form is we're calling max density df, that's going to be equal to city's population, where city's population density is equal to city's population density maximum. Kind of a non-intuitive way to think about it, but something very helpful you can do to help get yourself up to speed on conversational Python is to translate lines of code out loud into a sentence format. You don't have to publish it anywhere, just like record it for yourself. If it makes sense, you're like, all right, cool, that sounds somewhat accurate. Great. If not, work on it again and again and again, because how you sound to yourself will be pretty much the exact same as how you sound to an interviewer. It's a very easy trick to get better at your interviewing if you don't have a ton of resources or you don't have people in industry to speak to. All right, so that's that part. And then what we are tackling on top of that is we are going to pull the columns city, country, and density